Hi everybody, I am the Reading Tortie and welcome back to my channel. So I look kind of bad because allergies are killing me. My hair is like super disheveled. I put my headband on so my hair's not all fluffed up in my face. My body's falling apart all over again because it does that every quarter, so nothing new. But today we'll be doing part 3 of 4 for the book review of A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. Try and hold the book. Okay, cool. A Column of Fire by Ken Follett. Today we'll be covering the historicism and the plot of the book, which I don't really anticipate to be extremely long, if only because I'm not all that familiar with the time period, the Elizabethan time period, oddly enough. I kind of linger in the 1500s with the Borgias and prior, but I tried to do my research to give a valid and educated opinion about this, and as far as I could tell, Ken Follett really kept his historicism pretty accurate. I think because this book relies so heavily on the momentum of the historical acts, Ken Follett had much less wiggle room versus the first two books or even The Last Kingdom, which could play with 3 to 5 years. Ken Follett didn't have that wiggle room. I think that because everything was so time sensitive, you know, the monarchies, certain people are playing in certain time because people live and die at a certain time in history. I think Ken Follett had to be much more strict with his story and his timeline. So I actually really appreciated that. He kept some pretty major plot points in history pretty accurate, some of which were St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre of 1572, which was terrible, but that was one of the big ones. The execution of Mary, Queen of Scotland, which I think is just sad. I don't know if the true story of Mary of Scotland was this sad in real life, but man, poor Mary. The defeat of the Spanish Armada by the much smaller fleet of Sir Francis Drake, who was actually a real character. He's listed on the real list. And the Gunpowder Plot of 1605. So those are some of the major points that Ken Follett kept to in history. So if you find anything, because I know some people are really into this century, so if you guys find anything that is egregiously out of place or anything like that, please let me know, because as far as I know, it's pretty historically accurate. Ken Follett even, on the back, if you either skip through it or you finish it after the acknowledgments, has a list of all the people that were real in England, France, Scotland, and the Netherlands and Spain, I believe. Books are harder to handle with gloves on. Okay, yeah, Spain and the Netherlands. And Sir Francis Drake was on there. So I'm pretty sure he was like the super intense sailor dude that I would not want to meet. So from what I could tell, very, very accurate. I also really appreciated that although, well, I guess we could move over into the plot at this point. So the plot takes us all around the world and then some in this book versus the first two books of his that were much more centered around Kingsbridge and Wigley, a little bit of London if you count like referencing Oxford and stuff as a college, but that's mostly like an afterthought. So in this book, we get to go to England, Scotland, France, Spain, and the Netherlands, plus New Spain and a bunch of other places. So we really get to travel in this, and relatively speaking, this is not a whole lot of time for us to go to that many places. The other two books were like 1,100 pages, and they kind of centered, like I said, around Kingsbridge and Wigley. So for Ken Follett to take us as many places as he did in about the exact same amount of time, I think really is a testament to how well he can write and how precisely all of his words are chosen, because I don't feel like I'm missing any story in this. Obviously, it was a brilliant, fantastic behemoth of a story. And I don't feel cheated, skimped. I feel like I traveled the entire known world of the 1500s, and I really appreciate that. So the plot, I think, is really tied into the historical aspect of it all, which is also why I think it's very important that Ken Follett was so true to history, from what I could tell. And the book is really just hard. This is going to be a lousy plot summary, honestly, because to really talk about the plot, aside from saying it takes place from 1550 to like 1620, with the political and religious upheavals following the Willards and the Fitzgeralds, is to just get into the conflicts, which I already did in the previous video. So I don't really know what else to say, except the plot develops at a very logical, reasonable, and organic pace. Nothing seems pressured because, oh no, we only have 6 months before this massacre or this thing is going to take place. And none of it either feels forced. Like, oh no, this has to happen in history, so this stuff has to take place. Everything that takes place in the book is very purposeful, and I believe is very specifically chosen to develop the story. So the plot of the book, I think, is really, really amazing. And I'm sure Ken Follett has about 3,000 pages worth of research that we will not have the fortune of seeing to be able to build such a complete universe as this. So, fairly short video, but the historicism, I think, was pretty on point, and the plot of the book was absolutely beautiful, fantastic, well-paced. So there are certain parts of most books that I read, including my own. There's some parts in my own books, which I'm still working on, that I feel the story kind of goes into a rut. Like there's a lag between one major plot point and the story developing, as if that bridge kind of is not fleshed out well, and it's still good, but you can sense that there's a lull in the story, and then it picks back up and we're, straight on again. I didn't feel like there was ever a lull in this book whatsoever. I don't recall feeling that in Pillars of the Earth or World of that in either, but I think the closest thing we could get to that is when Barney kind of deviated and was out in the ocean. But either way, I think that really sets the precedence for Barney later in the book. So I really didn't find a lull. The plot was well paced, the historical figures, the historical settings and occurrences were really organically weaved into the story, and his story played and danced very well with history. Neither seemed forced, neither seemed like they were fighting for the stage. It was a very well balanced and wonderfully executed story in regards to the plot and the historicism. And everything else, if you watch the other 3 videos, you'll know everything is fantastic. So that would be it for this book. I will link parts 1 and 2 in the description box below. Part 1, I believe, is the setting and the synopsis. Part 2 covers the characters and conflict. I believe that's what it was. So I am going to review the last bit of it, which is part 4, which is going to be the resolution and the overall conclusion of what my opinion of the book is. Hint, hint, the book is spectacular. But that's coming in part 4, and I will not have a topic of discussion for this book, if only because these reviews lasted for so long. So if you guys want to have a discussion, please comment in the section below. I'm totally down for having awesome discussions about this book. We could go to Goodreads, whatever you guys want. So on that note, thank you guys for stopping by, and be safe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!